Hey everyone, it's Mike from Air Raid Attack Podcast. Let me talk to you for just 1 minute. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain to you in 5 simple steps. Number 1, it's free. Number 2, there is creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Number 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Number 4, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Number 5, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, how do you sign up? It's simple. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Enjoy the show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode that we call the Air Raid Attack Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and as always, feel free to follow the show on Twitter at airraid_podcast. Listen to us on iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. Don't forget to listen to us on the Unhinged Sports Network live on Fridays afternoons at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I introduce you to today's guest, I wanted to tell you to be ready for a busy week. This is the first night of a 3-night podcast run, so definitely start that. But let me introduce you to our guest for today's podcast. He is the head football coach of Anderson High School. He has been a head coach since he was 22 years old. He has had 7 3,000-yard quarterbacks. He has averaged over 30 points a game for 11 of the 12 years as head coach. Also, he has had 5 assistants that have went on to become head coach at other football programs. Lastly, he has averaged over 80 plays a game. Will you please give a virtual round of applause to Coach Evan Dreyer? Coach, it's an honor to have you on the Air Raid Attack Podcast.
Oh, I'm excited to talk about Air Raid and our football program and our offense and everything that goes into making sure that we're successful on and off the field. And I think this podcast does a great job of making sure that coaches are getting better and just improving every little detail within the game of football.
I appreciate that, Coach, and definitely, I don't mind talking some football, of course, talking what's going on in college football, what have you. Of course, the biggest question, I guess, that I've asked a lot of coaches and even players and just in general is, with, of course, COVID this year, how has that adjusted to your coaching style, to your coaches, practices, so on and so forth? How did that affect you guys this year?
I think the biggest thing was that each coach had to figure a different way to teach and instruct in install and video and a different way to get to meetings. Like we did virtual installs, virtual meetings, culture meetings. We met with our kids a lot more throughout the spring and summer, which helped our program have a great year. But I think the biggest thing is that each coach had to be really, really good at getting their details across in a way that kids listened, because kids' attention nowadays, it's really quick for 2 or 3 Snapchat and social media where there's kind of flickering through stuff where you have to get their attention real quick through video clips, small amount of words, and being able to keep their attention for 10 to 15 minutes in a meeting. And then the following day, being able to get it on the field, walk through, because without a meeting room, there was no way you were going to create a kind of culture that you really wanted, that every coach has done in the past, where you went from team to meeting to position meeting to walk through to practice. And we had to do it differently. So we did film after practice, after kids went home, after dinner. They had a virtual meeting. And that was really, really entertaining, because we had to be really, really good as coaches, of making practice cut-ups, game cut-ups for preparation. And I think that's what's going to be done in the future. I think we have to do a better job as coaches of making sure our kids are ready and prepared for the game, but making sure that we don't – I'll usually use the fluff. I use 80% of what's going to happen in the game, and the other 20% and little tidbits throughout the week.
Very nice. And, excuse me, a lot of coaches and, even here in Oklahoma's put us really not so much of a bind, but it's a different way of coaching, definitely coaching style because of COVID. You have to have protocols and so on and so forth that match the CDC guidelines and what you can and can't do, of course. But when you go into game plan mode, Thursday night, Friday nights, however the schedule is, anything different in your neck of the woods that was like, wow, this is a little different, but kind of cool at the same time, or was it pretty much just normal as is?
No, I think the biggest thing in Ohio was that we were like limited to 60 guys that travel on Friday nights, but we were told to get there as late as we can for warm-ups, which I love. I listened to Kevin Kelly from Pulaski Academy about his Friday routine, and we've done that for a few years of getting late to the games and warming up and just playing ball. And then our half times were down to 10 minutes. So you had to prepare for halftime almost like with 2 minutes left in the quarter and figure out like what adjustments are you going to make and how are we going to make these adjustments in 10 minutes, then a 3-minute warm up and then kick the ball right off. So I think that was one of the hardest things you had to do as a coach because you had to be on your toes and there was no downtime during halftime. You had to sprint to the locker room, get kids in position groups, and have guys be ready to instruct, teach, and get ready to go for the next 2 quarters.
Well, absolutely, and it puts you in a different spot, of course, compared to a normal 15, 12 minute. Depends on how games are situated. Of course, homecoming games, half times tend to be a little bit longer than a normal game would be, but it definitely puts you in a different position, especially like you said, practically you're running into the locker room, kind of get into your position groups, and you're back out there before you know it. So really kind of hard time at times. They're hard to regroup. This year, in regards to the season wise, how did your season go about, and the youth, and kind of explain. Of course, people, here in Oklahoma is different, maybe from Ohio, but explain your kind of culture in high and Ohio football.
I think, first of all, our regular season this year got condensed to 6 games. Okay.
Gotcha.
So we had to play 6 games, and then we got a bye week, but we wanted to play a game because I've never had a bye week at all since I've been a head coach. So in Ohio, you don't have bye weeks.
Same here.
So I took a game, and then we made it to the Elite 8, and it was really, really good for us. We faced the defending state champ, came up a little short. So we went 7-3 this year, and I think the biggest thing that I look back upon this year, we played every game, every week, because our kids made great decisions through COVID, and we kept our bubble small. We did the right things throughout our weightlifting sessions in the summer. We were prepared throughout COVID with our virtual workouts, our meetings. So I was really happy with the way we got to go and thrive for our season. But everybody's goal is to win a state championship.
Oh, yes.
But this year we got to play 10 games, and none of them were canceled. And I think that was one of the key successes for our year as we try to continue our journey for next year. But the big thing about our culture at Cincinnati Anderson High School is that I've always used the hashtag work wins and change our best every day. It starts with our weight room. We live 4 days in the morning, and our coaches will work out with our players. And it's very different. And it's okay that people say it's crazy that I hire a bunch of guys that are 22-year-old all the way to 45-year-old that work out with their players. And I think that's how you bond with kids. I think that's how you create relationships. I never felt like a coach was building a relationship by staying there in the weight room. I truly feel like each kid deserves to see a coach get really uncomfortable, and whether he can squat heavy, not at all, do a body squat, it doesn't matter. But the kid needs to see us be uncomfortable and get out of our comfort zone and build relationships. And I think that, to me, is the beginning of our culture. And then we talk about going as fast as we can at all times. So our workouts on and off the field, like there's no walking, there's no jogging. It's a full sprint because we want to play 80 plays a game on offense. We want to play right around 55 to 60 plays on defense, and then kind of bring the tempo and special teams. So I think our culture, everybody talks about it, how great, how fast they play, how they do that, but how you work out, how you get really, really fast and strong is kind of what we want to do, and how we bring our energy every day. And our practices are right around 90 minutes a day. We do Monday, Tuesday, really, really hard. Wednesday is a walkthrough. I got that from Josh Niblett from Hoover, Alabama, who I think is an unbelievable high school coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thursday we tee it up, because I think if you go soft on Thursday, I think it's very hard for our kids to get ready by Friday night. And then we lift 3 times a week. We usually lifted Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. But we lift Monday, Wednesday really hard, Thursday body weight, Friday we lift before the game now, and then Saturday we teed up. So Tuesday is Tough Tuesday, and we got names for each day: Juice Monday, Tough Tuesday, Working Wednesday, Brotherhood Thursday, Fast Friday. And that's our core values, and that's what we go with each and every day, and it even goes in our off season. So that's a little bit about our culture, and if you got any questions, ask away.
Hey, that's an amazing. Of course, it's all about brotherhood, especially when in high school football. Those are the memories, and I still remember mine in high school football. So of course, people don't realize, but high school starts. You may say, league and all that good stuff, and rightfully so. But high school, those are the good memories, and that's really the bondage comes in, because I still talk to quite a bit of my high school teammates, and even a few of my college still, but. Definitely excited, but I got a question in from a good buddy of mine, and I'll be on his show sometime later this month. But he messaged in: Is there a difference? First of all, growing up, who was your idol in regards to football? And second, if you could imitate or hang out with one coach currently in any ranks, high school, college, or the NFL, who would it be?
I think growing up in the great state of Ohio, I remember the days of going out back of wanting to be Eddie George.
Oh, yes.
I think the way he played and ran during that era, they had Bobby Hoying, Eddie George, Terry Glenn, Ricky Dudley. I mean, it was unbelievable offense, but every kid wanted to be Eddie George. And then I went through a Peter Warwick phase as I got into high school, because he was an unbelievable athlete at Florida State, but then he came to the Bengals and gave us a little bit of hope.
Yep.
And I think those two guys growing up, but I still remember watching Notre Dame as well, wanting to be in Jerome Bettis. Wanted to be number 36. And that, because in the Midwest, that's a game. My dad was an Irish fan. My brother's an Irish fan. And my grandpa was an Irish fan. That's what you watched.
Yep.
You watched that on Saturday afternoons, and those were the days of when you turned it on and they ran out there, and it was really, really cool to be in a family setting to watch Jerome Bettis. But that would be the players I emulate. But the coach, I think that I would love to talk to, that I think, it's very different, because everybody, Urban Meyer and Nick Saban, and everybody wants to talk to those guys. But I think to myself, the guys that to really go through it all right now, of a guy like, you always see Matt Campbell right now,
yes,
one of the hottest names in all of college football. But, I look at it and say, there's guys that I've seen afar from, that I haven't been able to see from a clinic, of Kyle Whittingham at Utah just keeps winning, and his ability to keep winning at Utah, and nobody's ever done it. Chris Peterson, when he brought Boise State, how'd he do it? Those things I would really love to talk to everybody about. Every little coach that I think has a little bit of a niche, that I'd love to talk to. But the biggest guys that I would love to talk to Pete Carroll. I think Pete Carroll, just his ability to win at USC, his ability to win at the National Football League, he's always won. Everybody thought it was the way he recruited, but now he's at Seattle where he's just a great guy. And the more you read about him, it's like, okay, how does he do it? His culture is so different. Because in the Midwest, everybody wants to emulate Urban Meyer due to his Ohio State and how he did it. And I think his culture is so much different than Pete Carroll's. And so I'd love to have a conversation with Pete.
Pete Carroll's an excellent coach. I remember him, way back when, of course, USC days, and not to make light, but I still remember the 59-19 beating that he gave my Sooners. But no, I remember him even originally in the NFL before he went back to the college ranks and then back up to Seattle. Now, Pete Carroll being an excellent guy, I think, for sure. I think, oh boy. I know on my end, I'm only 30, 32. I'll be 33 here in a few months. So, of course, I'm still young in that regard. But, I think Tom Osborne would be one. But, I think one would be Bobby Bowden. I think would definitely be one I would just love to kind of just pick his brain, and I'll be a little biased. I think Lincoln Riley would be interesting because, he's already his offensive guru, and I can just picture, Lincoln Riley in his office, like literally just dissecting everything and every angle and what he's actually thinking. And I'm sure his mind just goes like 120 miles an hour. I'm sure of that.
I think the biggest thing is I'd love to just talk to Lincoln and the O-line coach and for an hour.
Oh, yes.
Figure out how those two dial it up. And how they get it done, of how they challenge everybody's run fits, and they do a great job of playing with tempo. And the O-line is really, really good at Oklahoma, but everybody wants to talk about GT counter, but I want to talk about how they pass pro off of GT counter and pulling the guard. It's unbelievable what they do off play action pass.
Absolutely. Well, exactly. And you look at it, a lot of questions, of course, it's what Spencer Rattler does is phenomenal. You can't really compare. I guess playing style-wise, the way he throws it, he can kind of do a sideways pass, kind of like a Patrick Mahomes. But, of course, Mahomes got a little more height to him than Rattler does. But I would love to sit down exactly. Even Alex Grinch, a guy that has been known for forming defensives and so on and so forth. Another question coming in. Growing up, what has Coach Evan always wanted to be, and did he always wanted to be a head coach in football?
Oh, I think growing up, first of all, both my parents didn't graduate from college. And my mom's from Fort Lauderdale. My dad's from Cincinnati. My dad, we own a little bit of a meat processing plant. So, and that's what he's done in our family business. And he's been able to give my brother and I an opportunity to teach and coach. And that's what I've always wanted to do from the get-go. I've had great coaches. Like I had Steve Clowney, who was at Cincinnati Moeller, that was like national champs in like 84, 85, mid 80s when he had Cincinnati Moeller on the map. And I had him as an assistant. And then I've had some really good coaches when I played at Division III, but I always wanted to be a head coach of high school. And every high school coach won't say it, but we always talk about coaching college football if we could do it. And the inkling of coaching college football is always everybody's itch to see if in everybody's ego of, can you coach at the highest level? Like, can I go up against Lincoln Riley? And how cool would that be? Can I go up against Alex Grinch and score points? Everybody dreams of that, but I don't know. How do you get those opportunities? Is it preparation? Is it networking? What do you have to do? And I think the biggest thing is that be where your feet are, enjoy every moment. I've been able to enjoy it, since I was 22 to become a head coach after being an assistant at 2 programs. I've tried to enjoy it, and I have fun every day with the kids. Being 36, I would tell anybody, like, I'm not even one halfway through my career, and you got to smile and get going every day and enjoy the kids. And I think that's the biggest thing. Whether the kids are 14, whether the kids are 22, kids are kids, and they all want to be learned, taught, and loved and coached every day. And I don't know what the world is going to have for me in the future, but dadgummit, I'm going to love every day and be the best high school coach I can be.
Hey, absolutely. Nothing wrong with high school coaching. High school sports, here in Oklahoma, and I'm sure up there is in Ohio. It's I shouldn't say religion, but it's definitely a you're glued to the TV. Whether it's here it's 6A. You got Jinx, Tulsa Union, Broken Arrow.
Coach, let's talk about the news of Broken Arrow.
I was about to touch subject on that one. That's kind of my next subject. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. I was actually on lunch, and and I read the news. That was a shocker. Broken Arrow winning 2018, and took him to the playoffs. I know he was out pretty quick this year to a young Tulsa Union team, but that was a shocker. And I don't know if there was more behind the scenes, but wow.
I have to give kudos to that coach for what he did on social media and how he presented it as an alum. And, like, that to me showed me how classy that guy is. And I don't know him, and I'd love to just shake his hand and say, you've handled it the right way. And all high school coaches should be able to look him in the eye and say, that's how you earn respect around our coaching profession. And I loved how he handled it, and I'm sure he's heartbroken. I'm sure he loves those kids. And, well, from a guy from the Midwest, our heart goes out to the guys that give it all in their coaching profession. So that's respect. So I tip the hat to those guys.
Oh, absolutely. And if you guys are just joining in, of course, if you guys haven't heard the news, as big time, of course, here in Oklahoma, and even in the coaching ranks galore, Broken Arrow firing David Alexander after 7 seasons. Of course, he won the 2018 state championship, did a phenomenal job with Broken Arrow, went 60-23 during that time frame. Of course, unfortunately, this year losing to Tulsa Union, who's a young Tulsa Union team. But, of course, Broken Arrow finished, I want to say 7 or 4. But phenomenal job. Like you said, Coach Alexander, the way he held it at the end of how he did on social media, phenomenal. And I think that regardless of whether Broken Arrow wanted to go in a different direction, whatever the case may be, I know Coach Alexander is definitely going to be he won't be unemployed for too long.
And I think there's, like, Oklahoma high school football is really, really good. And I don't think people in the Midwest understand it because we don't see it as much because everybody wants to talk about Texas high school football. But that would be unbelievable to see some Oklahoma high school football teams ever get to compete against us in the Midwest.
That would be pretty neat. What class are you guys, or is Ederson High School in?
So we're in Division II. We have right around 1,300 kids. Our biggest class is one above us, and that is I think there's only right around 64 schools in Division I, and they're the top tiers. Nice. And we were state champs in 2007, runners up in 2008, and then the past 5 years I've been a head coach. 4 out of 5 we've went to the playoffs, and we went to the regional finals once, regional semis twice. So we're still building this thing up the right way.
Very nice, and that's the way to do it. And people want success immediately, but the right way to do it is build a program with the great morals and values, and to trust the process, and it's all going to work out in the end.
I think everybody's gets caught up with listening to Nick Saban about the process that he does. And I think that the biggest thing is, to me, is there's a process, but the kids, teenage boys, struggle to continue, and they have to get some kind of, did they win today? more of what did they do today to keep improving for tomorrow, about the process and the journey, because I think teenagers struggle with realizing that what you put in today is going to help you in a week, and what you put in a week is going to help you in a month. Like, that's where I think high school coaches got to make sure that there's a winner or loser each day, and how did your team and program do today, so you get ready for, more winter weights all the way to spring to summer, and how's your team going? Because if you talk about the journey, we don't play till August, and I think some kids struggle with that of like, well, I can push a lot of things off, and the best programs don't push anything off.
Oh, no, not at all. And unfortunately, during my high school career, we weren't we weren't the greatest, but that was perfectly fine. But it was regardless, you put it out there week in and week out, and just something about high school sports is by far phenomenal. Of course, you're in the Ohio area. Your thoughts, of course, the college football playoff rankings came out yesterday, and no surprises in the top 4, which was expected as is. Your thoughts on what Coach Fickell and Cincinnati has done this year, and is there still a chance that they could somehow, some way sneak in that Final Four spot?
First of all, I think Luke Fickell is one of the top and upcoming coaches. Him and Matt Campbell are very similar. And being an Ohio guy, Matt Campbell leads just the way he coached at Toledo. Dirty hat, got after it. The guys love him. And Luke Fickell does the same thing. I mean, his culture, Clifton style, Clifton Tuft, of just being a little part of Cincinnati is unbelievable. He didn't waver at all after his first season. I think that's what has made Luke really, really special, is that he stuck to his plan, and his plan was almost a little bit of a blueprint from Urban, but Luke has a great personality and fits into what Cincinnati has done. And they play great defense. Their offense has become above average, and I think the quarterback does a couple great things in the pocket now. He's great outside the pocket, but I think the biggest thing, if you go to their culture, it is so good from the weight room. Their weight strength coach, Brady Collins, is a guy that you must follow, because he's one of the most intense people I've ever been around. But he brings it every day, and Coach Fickell brings it every day, and it's so together down there right now where it could be really, really special. Do I think they get a chance? I hope so, because I think Alabama, hopefully they beat Florida, and I think somebody's got to play their way out of the ACC. I just don't know if Clemson or the Irish, can both be in. Hopefully Irish win again so the UC Bearcats can get in. But I truly think they can compete with anybody. And I think the whole thing that every Cincinnati fan would love to see is Cincinnati play Notre Dame and see how good Fickell truly is.
Oh, that would be a wonderful matchup. Of course, Coach Fickell did a phenomenal job and not taking anything away from Notre Dame, and I still think Notre Dame could. I get people like, well, they beat them without Trevor Lawrence. I get that. That's part of the game, but we'll see. I'm with you. I don't know if you can get 2 ACC teams in. Of course, Texas A&M hanging around, but I don't know. Obviously, the SEC Love Fest, but we'll see. Coach Solich at Ohio. Of course, he's a legend. Have people majority if you know Coach Solich at Ohio. Of course, he's long-term Nebraska head coach. Do you think he stays around just because of love of the game, or I obviously don't follow Ohio too much like I used to with Solich, but my dad knows him because my dad's a Husker fan. But how are the, if you know, of course, how is Ohio acting with or reacting with Solich, and is he just there just to coach the young kids at this point, be like more of a mentor than anything else?
I think the biggest thing Frank does is he lets his coaches coach. He loves to be around the game. He's always around the facility. He allows his guys to recruit guys that are developmental guys, and they do a really, really good job because they recruit differently than a lot of people in the MAC. And I think some people haven't figured it out of Frank is there. He does a great job closing on recruits, and he just why would you give it up when you enjoy every day going to work? And he's just so solid. Like he's just the guy that just keeps going to work and is so steady and consistent. And the assistants love him, and he's an icon for Ohio University. And I think to be able to say like every year they're right around eight wins or so, and they compete, they play sound football, and to be a stable to be stable in the MAC is truly how hard does it be, because those teams fluctuate with coaching staffs and talent from year to year.
I'm not for sure if you just I'm on Twitter. Of course, I'm trying to get these questions in. Mike, and I apologize if I butcher his last name, Koenig, is he's still upset at you for throwing 500 yards against him.
Yeah, Coach Koenig, their defense was really, really good at LaSalle, and we played our best game, but they were really, really solid, and they're defending state champs for a reason. And they're one of the best Division II programs in the state of Ohio, and it's Akron, Hoban, Massillon, LaSalle, and everybody's trying to play catch up to those three programs as well as Toledo Central Catholic.
Very, very nice, and I kind of figured I'll let you know that he's still upset about that.
He won the game, but I think that's the biggest thing that I think he's going to be able to smile a little bit harder after he gets over it. They won the game that night.
On a serious note, when college coaches come to you, hey coach, so on and so forth, what's your approach when college coaches, doesn't matter what level, come out there, ask about a certain individual, so on and so forth? How do you approach it, and what's your approach, I guess, in a way to the college recruiting process?
So I played Division III football. I think I would tell anybody, I think people need to go watch Division III games, NAIA games this spring, and to be able to see how good of football it actually is. And we have a recruiting website, which I think is one of the top tier things we do right off the bat. The days of trying to get all the kids, recruited on a spreadsheet, coaches don't have time for that. So we have a recruiting website. We send out the website to each coach, and we go forward from there. We answer every Division III email all the way to the top tier text message from Ohio State. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that as a high school coach, you don't know where, first of all, that college coach could be the following year. And you want to help your kids out and get them in the best position possible. And we've been really, really lucky to be able to help a lot of kids play college football. And I'm very, very proud of our staff and how we went about it. And we did it the right way by making sure our kids get assessed as much as possible in the spring through our weightlifting program and our speed and agility. So I think the biggest thing is that I would tell any high school coach, do not delete an email, send something back, even if you don't have kids that year. Just say, hey, coach, these are the kids in the future. These are the GPAs. We don't exaggerate. We don't lie. We don't try to fabricate the truth of a kid's 6'4". We don't say 6'6", because they don't have time to deal with a high school coach that exaggerates the truth. And they'll always remember it. So I think the biggest thing in the recruiting process, I try to help the guys as much as I can, be straightforward, honest, and make sure I'm worth their time, and I help them as much as possible to be able to relay information.
Very nice, and I'm with. Yeah, totally forgot about that. Definitely give the NAIA D3. I'm not for sure if D2 is doing spring or not. Of course, I know junior colleges. If there's colleges out there around your area that is junior college and does play football, we don't have many, if any, here in Oklahoma. I think maybe one, but definitely get ready for spring football, and hopefully it goes well, and we can get some more football in there, especially I love watching Wisconsin Whitewater, NAIA, John Carroll, and I'm going old school, but Southern Nazarene at one point in time used to be NAIA. I think they're D3 or now. I can't remember, but anyway, NAIA D3, definitely some good football to watch. What's your style of play in regards to offensive schemes, and how do you manage your playing time on the field?
Oh, I think style of play is the way we practice, and I think the biggest thing I would tell anybody that to try to get 80 plays off, you got to be really, really consistent in what you do, and you got to believe in a few run schemes and be able to align them formationally from week to week. And with our passing concepts, be able to tag or switch people, outside receiver, inside receiver, the third receiver, and the first receiver. How do you switch all those guys and do it in a simple way without tons of verbiage? And I think we've been able to do that. We've studied a lot of people, and I think the whole thing is, can your quarterback count numbers in the box? If so, how quickly can it do it? And can we get the ball out to our skilled guys as fast as possible and let them make plays? Can your quarterback play a point guard and dish it out, or is he the athlete that we want the ball in his hands? From year to year, it's different, but I think the way you have to practice is totally different. And I would tell anybody, I don't believe in the scout team. I think going against the scout team is absolutely ridiculous.
Same here.
So that's one of those things where we don't draw up cards. I think our defense is multiple, so we can switch it from week to week and let our kids play our defense and get after it from there. So that's how we play really, really fast. A lot of people want to talk about schematics of power post or any RPO stuff. That's in our arsenal, but we don't spend a lot of time on it because that's just a little small thing we do from week to week. And we're going to line up an empty or 3x1 90% of the time and go forward from there.
I like that. I'm very. I like the go mentality. No huddle. We're gonna wear and tear you down. We're gonna run it. Ground and pound, so to speak, against your defensive line. So definitely, we're gonna make you tired, but it's gonna be fun at the end. When the season's over, and of course, coaching gets a lot of hours in, a lot of sacrifice time. Sometimes, takes some time away from your family. But when the season's over, what do you like to do for fun, Coach?
I think, first of all, my wife runs her household, so I'm not going to lie about it. I think the hardest thing is, where do you fit in at your house? Right after school, you're done and you come home okay, what is the dinner routine beforehand? What do I do type of thing. And I love to go fishing. I love to kick the soccer ball around with my daughter, play Legos with my son. I think the biggest thing is that, so in Ohio, you get 28 days off where you can't do any football at all. And so for those 28 days, I really don't know what to do at all other than whatever my wife tells me to do, whatever I can do with the kids. So I think that's what I do. I hang out, work out, and think about what we're going to do then our season starts already after the 28 days, but you still can only just work out. So we work out in the morning and I come home and pretty much make sure that the Christmas tree's put up, the Christmas lights, the dishes are done. Guys, I think the biggest thing of a high school head coach is like you don't really understand when you get home, you're not in charge anymore.
Nope.
You're just the assistant coach inside your house. And anybody who like says differently is crazy to me. So I get to do a great job, but I'm the assistant coach at home, and I love my wife, and she's awesome, and she loves sports. So we watch the Buckeye games all together, and our whole family watches a little college football, and that's what we do. And I'm okay with it. Like there's not. I like country music. There's not like a huge hobby like that I love. I can go fishing and hang out. Awesome. I can watch a game. Great. But guys, I'm also a movie buff. I love movies as well. And so that's what I got for you.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. And I know by experience as well. So I got an oldest son. He, unfortunately, their middle school season couldn't even be played out this year, which he was bummed. But hopefully next year we'll get back to the grind of things. But no, I definitely feel you on that one. So I'm, of course, your thoughts on Justin Fields. What would be a good fit? I think I talked this on the last show with Jimmy. Maybe not. I can't remember. What will be a good fit for him in the NFL? What team, in your opinion, would be a good fit?
I think, and I'm not going to say an organization. I think the biggest thing for Justin Fields is that he's got to play 70% of the snaps out of shotgun right off the bat. Like they do a couple things really good under center at Ohio State. Some play action shots that create explosive plays. He does really good stuff. But out of the gun, get him really comfortable and let him play ball from there and get him outside the pocket. They almost need to say, like, we're going to take a little bit of a college mentality and let him have success first because he's so athletic and he throws the ball well when he has time. Now, I think his anticipation has to improve with some throws to get the ball at his hands. Like, he's so athletic. He gets out of the pocket in college to get out of some sack situations, but he's got to be able to do some things and anticipate and be ready for how fast the NFL game is.
I like Fields, and I think you're absolutely correct. And we talked about, I think, getting him out of the shotgun. He's going to have to run out of that. I think it'd be an interesting fit. I mean, I can't, on top of my head, I couldn't even remotely tell. I forgot who we even think. I don't remember what even Jimmy even said at this point. But regardless, he can be successful. But again, under the right schemes. Another question coming in on. Hold on, let me pull it up here. Another question on the message sent to me from a from a good buddy who I played with in college. Your thoughts? Is Joe Burrow a bust, or does he just need an offensive line that can block? Mike says O-line's the biggest issue, which I thought it was, and then he says he doesn't think so at all. What's your thoughts?
I would tell you, Joe Burrow, people in Cincinnati love him, and his story is amazing. Like, we love him to death, and we think that with any type of O-line that would be average in the NFL, that Joe's going to be doing great things. We feel like he never even got an opportunity because he was getting crushed week in and week out. And the running game did not help him either. So, like, when people talk about, well, they had a couple weeks where they ran the ball well. Well, that's when Joe was playing well. Like I always laugh at because people crushed Tim Couch. Tim Couch got crushed in Cleveland. Like, are we going to let Joe Burrow get crushed like him, or are we going to get him O-line? He has enough receivers and running backs that we feel that we're confident in Cincinnati. But if we don't fix the O-line, in 2 or 3 years, Joe Burrow will be moving on to a better ball club and probably going further in the playoffs. So that's the Joe Burrow. But as of right now, he owns Cincinnati, and his attitude and personality, the way he talks to our media. We love him up here.
I liked him. I know I gave him bad grief when I was a guest on one of the podcasts. It's been a while now, but of course, has nothing to do with a sour taste from the Chick-fil-A Bowl, but rightfully so. But who's being, of course, in Ohio? I'm sure it's probably a tough one to say, maybe not. The biggest star right now, who would you say that is the face of Ohio? Baker Mayfield or Joe?
I love Baker, but I've studied Baker since he was at Oklahoma. Just the way he acted, and I've had quarterbacks try to emulate Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I want to be. Yeah.
That's the part where people understand. Baker's story about the walk-on playing with a chip on his shoulder. Every quarterback. I still remember when he got drafted, every quarterback in our youth camp wanted to be like him. Give me number 6. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, God. Okay, we're going to have headbands and number 6. And I love that.
Oh, absolutely.
I love his story. I love the way he acts. I love, there was the clip of the 1 year or a couple year anniversary of the Kansas when he didn't get the handshake.
Oh, yes.
It was
the grab with the crotch.
Then the foul. Then he did some foul language and some accent, and he learned from that, I believe. But he played unbelievably well, and I think a competitor like him, everybody loves. But I think Joe's story. Then Joe leaves Ohio State, goes to LSU, and all of a sudden wins the Heisman. That story is really incredible too, but Joe didn't have the story that Baker did. It's more of how Joe improved was behind Dwayne Haskins, switched schools, and became an LSU changed their offense with Joe Brady and Joe Burrow, and everything kind of meshed all together. So that, to me, there's two different stories, two different personalities that people still love, but I think if Joe Burrow has an average O-line, I think we're going to see the Battle of Ohio in years to come, which will be fun to watch for the first time, probably since I've been alive.
Well, it's definitely going to be it'll be interesting. I hope, of course, Joe gets a good recovery back. I know that the damage is is a little worse than what they were hoping for, but I think during the offseason, get some help on the offensive line. Kind of reminds me of, maybe not so much, but kind of reminds me of with Andrew Luck, with in Indianapolis. I think getting him banged around quite a bit without a offensive line. But of course, talent-wise, Joe and Andrew, I think, is a little on the different side, to say the least. Your thoughts on the okay, there we go. Same person. Where are we at here? Okay. Same person. Okay, here we go. Same person on the heading into the offseason. What's the biggest adjustments that you would hope to see in your team, and what would be your greatest weakness that you hope to see improve during the offseason?
I think it starts from the junior to be senior leadership of how you have to develop your team for next year. The juniors have to finally realize that it's their team and how to make people gravitate towards them, and for them to be confrontational leaders in a positive manner. I think that's the hardest thing to do within the first 3 or 4 weeks of how do you make them lead positively, have an unbelievable work ethic, and to be a try-hard. Nobody wants to be a try-hard anymore, and it kind of ticks me off because that's the part of the issue in today's society, and we try to change that real quick as we go in the off season. So we do a bunch of competition drills right off the bat. We got tug of war, we got plate carries, anything that you can. We got wrestling, toe touches. We have all that, crab fights, and I think that's the biggest thing as we go forward of trying to create guys that really, really want to compete and lead in a positive manner. And I think each year you have to do it differently because each personality of the seniors is so different. And who's going to be vocal, who's not going to be vocal, who's going to lead through actions, who's going to lead positively, who's going to be the guy that texts us and in a group chat and gets those guys all fired up, who's going to lead behind the scenes to make sure we all show up for our fundraisers. All those little things you don't know yet. You're hoping as a head coach and assistant coach, but it comes down to it of who can we lean on and get in a foxhole with, and every coach is impatient with that. And I think over time you have to make sure you're developing and you're climbing that mountain each day.
So true. I think in leadership, regardless if it's a sport, if it's a sport or, just daily life, leadership is a crucial part. I had a good conversation with a good friend of mine earlier today. We were just talking about just leadership in general. Without good leadership, your team is only as good as your leader is. And, we had to kind of help them through some things, but no, that's true, especially on the field. Juniors, you want that experience to get out there, especially when you get your freshmen and the young kids, get some experience, some leadership in there, I should say. But what's been the biggest challenge for you through your career so far as a head coach? I guess a three-part question. Your biggest challenge, the number one pro and the number one con so far in your head coaching career.
I think the hardest thing to do is to organize your time, because you're going to get pulled every way possible. And I think that is the hardest thing to do. And I've decided I'm always going to put relationships and kids first. So if I'm not the most organized man, if our practice plan isn't down to the second, I'm going to make sure our kids are put first. And I will always do that. And if the parent meeting, the fundraisers and all that stuff can take a back seat, because I'm going to put the kids first. And I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm sure other coaches are really good CEOs and are really good Excel sheets.
Yep.
I'm good at Excel, and I don't care. And I'm fine with that. I'm not the best dress guy. I don't care about that stuff. That doesn't win games. I think about the best thing you can look at every day as a head coach is this helping our team improve? Is this helping our team win? Is this helping our kids get better academically, athletic, or socially? And then move forward from there. That's the only questions we have to answer. And I think the biggest thing is that people want to throw, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Well, it's like, how long is that going to stick to the wall? Because I don't really want to do it. The kids don't want to do it. So why are we doing it? Well, everybody else does it. I don't care. And as you go through time, the experiences, I think that's one of the best things that I've come across is that I enjoy being around the kids every day. So why would I take that away from me and walk around the practice field where I set up cones or act like I'm a special teams coach? Because that's what Urban Meyer did, where I coach punt. I think punt is the worst play in football. So why would I do something I don't really want to do? So I think that's where everybody's a little bit different, and I'm not going to change because I read a book. I'm going to improve because I read a book, but I'm not going to change our whole philosophy on a weekly basis because somebody else did it. And you got to be able to have your own thick skin. And I think that's what I've been able to do with experience. So that's one of the positive things I would learn through experiences. You're going to be able to grow as a coach and realize what's the most important thing for you.
Well, and I think you, in my opinion, and I know people will say, well, I would have said this, that, and that's perfectly fine, but I think you perfectly nailed it. I think it's just be yourself, number one, and you got to have thick skin and realize that, I'm not going to change for nobody, or, yeah, it's obviously good to improve, and I think we can all improve, and regardless of if you're out there listening, if it's a spiritual matter or anything like that, we can always improve. But no, I think your answer absolutely, in my opinion, nailed it on the forehead.
I think coaches struggle with that brute
Yep.
honesty that I just gave because they want to give a politically correct answer and are worried about outside distractions of their program. But when all comes reality to it, if the kids love you and want to be around you, then you've won the day. And why not just worry about that and stop worrying about other things? And if I can get that kid to finish every assignment and turn it in, great. I think the mulch fundraiser can wait another day so I can help this kid out. And I know people are so into Excel sheets and organization and plan out every day of their life. Well, I can't do that. That's not the way I'm going to run our program, and that's not the way I'm going to function. So it's one of those things where I'm sure I test people's, personalities or how the heck does that guy get some stuff done, but it's okay. I got thick enough skin, and my wife will make sure that I know that she's in charge, and she'll give me her thoughts and opinions of what I should have done, could have done.
Hey, and I'm with you. Like I said, I'm with you in the same boat. I don't wake up and my alarm goes off at 6 a.m. I'm like, well, let me get my Excel sheet out and see. Oh, it's 6:30. I got to take a shower. 6:45, get the kids up and ready to go for school and so on and so forth. So, and whatever happens, I always say, I may not plan everything out accordingly, or I may not say the right things, but hey. I get the job done regardless, maybe a little bit longer, maybe quicker, but at the end of the day, it's going to get done one way or another.
The biggest thing I would look into in our coaches' careers of like each coach that has left me took a little bit of part of our blueprint, which is awesome. They don't need to be little Evan Dreyer when they become head coaches. They need to be the best head coach and with their own version and be the best them. So, sitting here and thinking about it, of like, what do we do really, really well? Well, each coach got a little bit of piece of it and moved on and became great head coaches. So I would look at it into that of like, if you're a head coach, what pieces have people stolen from you? And that should be one of the best things you do. And don't ever change from that.
Nailed it. And for people out there that's listening to the show, what advice would you give someone that wants to get into coaching? Let's go 2 roles. First off, the player has experience, with experience playing football. What advice would you tell him if he came up to you, say, "Hey, coach, I really want to get into coaching, but I don't know really what to do, this, that, and something else." And then to the other player that has no experience, because some people do realize that Mike Leach, the head coach of Mississippi State, has no experience. And that I know that someone else out there, is it Bill Belichick, I believe, has no playing experience? I can't remember. But anyway.
Well, I know
Charlie Weiss
had it, but he had the best contract.
Is he still getting paid by Notre Dame?
That's a great question. At one point, it was Notre Dame, Kansas.
I'm sure he's still getting paid by somebody. But what kind of advice, on a serious note, what kind of advice would you tell someone with experience, playing experience, that wants to get into coaching?
I think with the guy with playing experience, I would say, hey, let's get you in the weight room and see if you want to coach like you played, and let's groom you and let's mentor you from there of how you want to, what kind of coach you want to become. Because with our young assistants, we do that. We give them a little weightlifting group and go forward from there, because a lot of them have to decipher between playing and coaching. It's 2 different roles. But at the same time, you can't change a kid that loves the game and loves just being around the program and say, hey, you're going to be a coach I need you to wear khaki pants and a polo shirt and just stand there. I think that's horrible. I think that's the worst thing we can do as coaching mentors. We got to get kids that love the game and teach them through mistakes and let them fall forward about schematic. Let them get on the chalkboard and draw some stuff up. And even though it looks like a kindergartner drew it up, we got to let them fail and coach them up. And I don't think a lot of guys give that amount of time to those young coaches with experience. The guy who doesn't have any experience, I think the biggest thing is that if he loves kids and wants to be around it, we always will have him. What position do you want to coach? Where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What's your specialty? Is it graphics? Is it video? Oh, you want to do that? Do you want to? There's always somebody that hasn't had experience that is good with something. And I think every football program has those types of guys, and that's why they're really good, because they use those guys' strengths, they build upon their weaknesses, and they get a guy that's, okay, he hasn't had experience, but he becomes the running backs coach. But he also is really good at graphics, and he's good at the recruiting website. What's he really good at? Well, he's got his niche now. Okay, the guy that wanted to be a part of special teams coordinator is really good at meetings and is really detail oriented. Well, we're going to make him into a safeties coach and a special teams coordinator because the kids love him and go forward from there. I think we got to be able to find your niche as you enter the coaching profession and let you grow from there.
Very nice. And I think it's fascinating with some people with great experience or no experience with great success is what I'm trying to get to. Charlie Weiss, Mike Leach. I still think Bill Belichick. I may be wrong on him, but it helped, of course, with playing experience. But again, if you learn it and you got the passion for it, put your mind to it, and go for it. And you never know what may happen. Chips may fall where they may, and so on and so forth. But finish up on a few questions. I know we're a little probably over the hour, but headed to the okay, that was a long. Okay, here we go. Newest one. Excuse me if I can talk right. Have you dealt with a angry parent? I'll make that was the right word first. Angry parent about his kid playing time.
I think the biggest thing is that you don't talk about playing time. You talk about their strengths and weaknesses and what they've done in the practice film. And I would tell anybody, if you don't film your practices, that's just leading to disaster, because then you don't have any footage to show, because then everybody's going to say, well, he hasn't played in the game. And we don't talk about playing time. We talk about their performance and what they've done to earn the right to play and go forward from there. Don't say playing time is non-negotiable like I see on some of these player contracts. I think the biggest thing is, did you meet with the player one-on-one yet? Did the position coach meet with them yet before the parent meets with you? Because I think it's all about getting a mature citizen after he graduates. So have you talked to the player yet before mom or dad step in? As a position coach, have you created a plan? Has the kid stuck to the plan? If not, then I think you know where you're going to go with it, and what film you need to show is the practice film.
Well, absolutely. And I know when I was playing practically elementary all the way up to freshman year in college, if you weren't performing on practice, you weren't going to play. No ifs, buts about it. Especially, when we look at film, you continue to miss your tackles, you continue to miss your blocks, so on and so forth, miss routes, misreads, whatever the case may be. You just weren't going to see the field much. That's just, that's just how it was, and that's how we improved. But excuse me. But final question looks like that's came in, and I was about to ask the same one, so I guess it's a good thing he came in anyway. So, your biggest takeaway once you retire 40, 60 years from now, whatever the case may be, you're going to look back. What would be your hope that your people will say about you and your legacy?
that he coached every day of his life to make sure my son had the best day of his life. That Evan Dreyer influenced my son to become a better man, husband, son. It's not about, like everybody says, it's not about wins and losses. There's a lot of losses that are still with me. There's a lot of wins that I think about. Those are cool, but I talk about and have stories with assistant coaches all the time about the guys that were never in the newspaper that have helped us win. And I want those guys to be able to walk down memory lane and say, Coach Dreyer was hilarious, funny, energetic, got after it. You remember a time when he got after me for this and he loved me up for that? I think that's the part where every coach is not going to be 100% perfect, but every kid should have a chance and an opportunity to be loved by the coach. And I hope to God that each kid knows that I loved them up. I coached them really, really hard, and that they would say I was a positive influence in some aspect of their life.
Well, and right there, that's it puts that's what matters the most, and is improving these kids for the long haul. Because once they graduate and move on, then you hope that not just at Anderson High, but even here locally in Middle City, it doesn't matter where you may be at. Hopefully that you made an influence and an impact on their life that will for years to come, and then they look back and we go visit the high school reunions and talk about the good old days, or so on and so forth. So, no, that's excellent advice by Coach.
I think also and I think this is a struggle with and that I live with, and I think a lot of head coaches do, that I want the best player on the team and player 99 to understand that I love them equally, that they do so much for our program. And I think those, like, as I get through this, head coaching career, I think that's the ones that I hope to God that I do enough and that I do this. And I hope that I'm doing enough. And I think that's sometimes you lose sleep over the entire roster of, okay, have I done enough to help everyone out? And I hope to God that when I retire, somebody says, Coach, I appreciate it. Thank you for, helping me do this. And that's all that matters to me.
Well, absolutely. And people, that if you're out there listening, it's again, it's just a game. Life's more important, and the influence that we make an impact on one another it does make a difference. People don't realize how much of a difference it does make. And we can go 0-10, or you can go 10-0 and make the playoffs and lose right from the get-go. But at the end of the day, life goes on, and the impact influence is what is my opinion what makes the win.
I think the biggest thing is that at 22 I looked at it differently than I'm at 36, and I think as you go through experiences, and every old coach is going to tell you that, just wait till you get married. You're going to change. Wait till you have kids. And I still remember looking at those coaches like, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do that. That guy doesn't have a clue. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And as I get going, I'm like, am I becoming that old coach that nobody really listens to? That these young guys are like, what is he talking about? And I think that's really, really hard. Right in your mid 30s, of like, are you the young guy, the old guy? Where do you fit in? And who's listening to me out there? About I don't want to be the old guy that's talking old war stories. So it's really hard in that aspect to ensure people understand that you're going to change throughout your career.
Well, absolutely, and I'm not too far behind, and 32. I'm kind of with you. I don't know if I can get considered young anymore, or if I'm getting older. Because now, at least with my oldest son, there may son even they may watch the video. I know it's not on topic, but may watch a video and says, "What's that? It's a VHS tape." You got to explain what a VHS tape is, or you got to explain why back in 1999 we didn't have DVRs. We had, if you missed the show, you missed the show. You have to wait till next week. But now, even in sports in general, you kind of fit. Are you the young one, the old one? Body wise says, "Hey, let's make a run for it." But some days, body wise says, "No, we're not going to do it." But no, I'm with you. Mid-30s, you don't know if you're in the young stage or the old stage anymore. Just depends, I guess, how everybody feels it one day.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is that weight's coming up, and we're excited about our next journey for the next season, and can't wait to put the pieces together for the future of our program and the future of our coaching profession.
Well, absolutely. I'm excited for not just you but also for your program, your coaches, your players, and you definitely have not just from me personally, but from the podcast standpoint as well, that we'll be rooting you on, and hopefully next year, maybe COVID will kind of limit down or at least limit to where we can get some normalcy back. But we're hoping to make a trip up to Ohio, so we'll make sure that it's during football season. I'll try to I'll catch up with you then.
That sounds great, and hopefully once you get Lincoln and Coach B, the line coach at Oklahoma, to give me a shout and or talk ball with you sometime. I'm going to listen in, and I can't wait to hear more from the Oklahoma coaches, because what you've broken Arrow, Tulsa Union, Jenks, I've researched all those guys and how great they are, and I can't wait to learn more ball from those guys as we go through kind of another Zoom clinic season, and it's one of the funnest things that I've been a part of, to be able to talk football with guys all across the United States. And I think that's one of the best things that's coming from this pandemic, is that more guys are willing to share, more guys are willing to learn, and our profession is growing, and we got to make sure we grow and mentor the young guys to love and the kids.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been fun doing a podcast. I know most times it's sports related to Tom Brady throwing 4 interceptions to whatever else may happen. And then there's also times that, hey, let's just sit back, more so just listen in. And you never know, once this show gets released here in the next hour or so, that one person may say, man, that's really great advice. And you just don't realize an impact, like you mentioned earlier, regardless, that may happen. And I will say this, if I'm going to do my best to get Lincoln. I'm sure he's busy. Of course, he's busy right now. But once Championship November takes place and we win another Big 12 championship, and once the season ends, I'm definitely going to try to get Coach B and Lincoln on here. And if I can, I'll make darn sure that you're on the show as well.
I appreciate that. That's one of those goals where I would love to cross off the list of the bucket list of just being able to coach or talk ball with some of the best coaches in America and go forward from there. So
absolutely, and I know his younger brother. I think it's his younger brother. I believe he's the offensive coordinator down at. He was at Southern Miss for a while. I think he's at SMU right now. But I try to get him on because I know he runs the same type of format. But I just kind of want to pick his brain as well, just to see, how the comparison from him to Lincoln is. So, but I'll definitely keep you in the loop. And like I said, Coach, you got our support, and we'll be rooting you on. And when we get to Ohio, we'll definitely I'll hit you up, and you're always welcome to come on the show and just chit chat. It doesn't even have to be about sport. We can just chit chat until we can't chit chat no more. So you are always welcome on board.
I appreciate it. As always, God bless.
God bless you. Take care of yourself, Coach. Guys, if you're listening out there, give Coach Evan Dreyer a follow at Coach Evan Dreyer, DYER. If you want to spell out at Coach COACHEVANDREYER, head coach of Anderson High School. Coach, I wish you and your family a Merry Christmas. And stay safe the rest of the 2020 year, and hopefully, and I pray and may God blessings on your up and coming season and just in life in general.
Thank you.
God bless, and I'll talk to you
God
soon,
bless.
Coach. Take care. Bye.
Talk to you. See you.